I will not quit. I did not come this far to stop halfway. I did not wake up this morning to surrender to fear, to bow to doubt, or to allow the pressure of life to silence the purpose that is burning inside of me. Listen to me carefully tonight. Every person in this room has faced moments that whisper the same dangerous suggestion: give up. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet voice in the mind saying, it's too hard, it's taking too long. Maybe you're not meant for this. But I came here to declare something with absolute conviction. I will not quit. Because quitting is not just stopping an action. Quitting is abandoning a calling. Quitting is walking away from a future that has not yet had the chance to appear. Quitting is allowing temporary pain to cancel permanent purpose, and I refuse to do that. You see, many people think success is built on talent. They believe greatness belongs to the most gifted, the most connected, the most fortunate. But if you study the lives of those who changed the world, you will discover something powerful. Greatness does not belong to the most talented. Greatness belongs to the ones who refuse to quit. The difference between those who succeed and those who disappear is not intelligence. It is not opportunity. It is endurance. The ones who rise are simply the ones who stayed when others walked away. Think about it. Every dream is tested. Every vision is challenged. Every purpose is resisted. The moment you decide to pursue something meaningful, life will begin to examine the seriousness of your commitment. Obstacles appear. People doubt you. Doors close. Plans collapse. And suddenly the journey becomes harder than you imagined. But understand something very important. Difficulty is not a sign that you should quit. Difficulty is evidence that your purpose is being developed. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is preparation. Diamonds are not created in comfort. Diamonds are formed under pressure. And the same is true for greatness. The problem with many people today is that they expect success without resistance. They want victory without battle. They want achievement without endurance. But life does not work that way. The road to anything meaningful will test your patience, your courage, your faith, and your resilience. And during those tests, the question will not be, are you capable? The question will be, will you quit? Because quitting is the easiest decision a human being can make. Quitting requires no courage. Quitting requires no discipline. Quitting requires no vision. All quitting requires is surrender. But those who shape history refuse surrender. They understand something that the world often forgets: progress is built one step at a time. And sometimes the most important step is simply the decision to keep going. Let me tell you something powerful. Many people quit when they are one step away from breakthrough, one step away, one more attempt, one more conversation, one more effort, one more day of persistence. But they never see it because they stop too early. And the tragedy of quitting is this: you will never know how close you were. You will never know how near you were to the opportunity, the discovery, the victory that could have changed everything. That is why I say tonight with absolute certainty, I will not quit. Not when things are easy. Not when things are difficult. Not when people believe in me. And not when they doubt me. Because my decision to continue is not dependent on circumstances. My decision to continue is rooted in purpose. Purpose is a powerful force. Purpose wakes you up when others are sleeping. Purpose pushes you forward when others are retreating. Purpose gives you strength when the body is tired and the mind is overwhelmed. When a person discovers their purpose, quitting becomes impossible. Because purpose is bigger than comfort. Purpose is bigger than fear. Purpose is bigger than temporary failure. You see, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Failure is feedback. Failure is information. Failure is the process through which experience is built. The greatest inventors, leaders, creators, and pioneers all share one thing in common. They failed repeatedly, but they did not quit. They adjusted, they learned, they improved, and they tried again. Every failure refined their strategy. Every mistake sharpened their understanding. Every setback strengthened their determination. Until eventually, persistence produced victory. And the same principle applies to your life. Your current challenge is not the end of your story. Your struggle is not your final chapter. Your setback is not your destiny. It is simply a moment in the process. And the process is preparing you for something greater. But preparation requires patience. And patience requires faith. Faith is the ability to continue walking even when the road ahead is unclear. Faith is believing that your effort today is building a future you cannot yet see. Faith is standing in the middle of uncertainty and declaring, I will not quit. Let me speak to the person here tonight who feels exhausted. The one who has tried again and again. The one who has invested time, energy, hope, and heart into something that has not yet worked. You may feel like stopping. You may feel like stepping away. You may feel like the journey is too long. But hear this clearly. You are stronger than the obstacle in front of you. You are more capable than the difficulty surrounding you. You are more powerful than the doubts inside your mind. The only way your dream dies is if you decide to bury it. And tonight I challenge you, refuse to bury your dream. Refuse to bury your purpose. Refuse to bury your potential. Stand up inside yourself and make a declaration that echoes through every challenge you will ever face. I will not quit. Not because the journey is easy, not because the road is smooth, but because the vision inside me is too valuable to abandon. You see, your dream is not just about you. Your dream is connected to people you may never meet. Your purpose is connected to lives you may never see. Somewhere in the future, there are individuals waiting for the solution you will create, the leadership you will provide, the encouragement you will deliver, the example you will become. But if you quit today, they will never receive it. Your perseverance is not just personal. It is generational. It is transformational. It is impactful beyond what you can imagine. And that is why your determination matters. History remembers those who continued when continuing was difficult. History remembers those who persisted when persistence seemed impossible, history remembers those who looked at adversity and said, "You will not stop me." So tonight I ask you a question. What will you do when life challenges you again? What will you do when the next obstacle appears? What will you do when doubt tries to occupy your mind? Will you surrender? Or will you stand up and say with unwavering conviction, "I will not quit. I will not quit learning. I will not quit growing. I will not quit building. I will not quit believing. I will not quit trying. I will not quit moving forward." Because quitting may end the struggle, but it also ends the possibility. And I choose possibility. I choose growth. I choose resilience. I choose purpose. I choose the long road if the long road leads to destiny. So when the nights become long and the progress feels slow, remember this moment. Remember this decision. Remember this declaration. You were not designed to stop at the first sign of difficulty. You were not created to surrender to fear. You were not built to live a life defined by unfinished dreams. You were created with strength. You were created with vision. You were created with the ability to overcome obstacles that once seemed impossible. But that ability only activates when you make a choice. The choice to continue. The choice to endure. The choice to refuse surrender. And tonight, that choice becomes your declaration. Say it in your mind. Say it in your heart. Say it in your spirit. I will not quit. When the path becomes uncertain, I will not quit. When the effort feels exhausting, I will not quit. When others doubt me, I will not quit. When the results take longer than expected, I will not quit. Because persistence is the bridge between vision and reality. Persistence is the fuel that turns dreams into achievements. Persistence is the quiet power that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary examples. And every step you take forward, no matter how small, is evidence that your future is still alive. So keep moving, keep building, keep believing, keep standing, keep pushing, keep trying, keep rising. Because the story of your life is still being written. And as long as you refuse to quit, the final chapter will be greater than anything you have faced so far. So, tonight, before you leave this place, make a promise to yourself. Not a weak promise, not a temporary promise, a powerful, unbreakable commitment. No matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the journey becomes, I will not quit. Most people believe quitting is an escape from pain. They think that if they stop pushing, stop trying, stop struggling, the pressure will disappear and life will finally become easier. It feels logical in the moment. When effort is exhausting, when results are slow, when obstacles seem endless, the mind begins to whisper a dangerous suggestion. Just stop. You've done enough. Let it go. But what many people do not realize is that quitting does not remove pain. It only replaces one kind of pain with another. The pain of effort may exhaust your body. It may stretch your patience. It may test your strength and discipline. But that pain is temporary. It exists only in the process of growth. It fades when the work is done, when the progress appears, when the victory finally arrives. The pain of regret is different. The pain of regret does not fade with time. In many cases, it grows stronger as the years pass. It appears in quiet moments. It appears when you see someone else succeed at the thing you once dreamed about. It appears when you wonder what your life might have looked like if you had simply continued a little longer. Regret asks uncomfortable questions. What would have happened if you had tried one more time? What if the next step had been the breakthrough? What if the opportunity was closer than you realized? What if the struggle was preparing you for something greater than you imagined? And the painful truth about regret is this: once you quit, those questions can never be answered. When a person quits, they close a door on possibilities they will never fully understand. The dream that could have been built, the influence that could have been created, the lives that could have been impacted, the person they could have become. You see, potential is one of the most powerful forces inside a human being. Every person in this room carries abilities, ideas, creativity, and strength that have not yet been fully expressed. There are skills inside you that are still developing. There are solutions inside your mind that the world has not yet seen. But potential is fragile. Potential requires persistence to become reality. Potential requires discipline to become visible. Potential requires courage to survive the storms of doubt and difficulty. And when a person quits, potential remains buried. Imagine a seed placed in the ground. Inside that tiny seed is the blueprint for something remarkable. A tree capable of producing shade, fruit, shelter, and life for many years. But if that seed is removed from the soil before it has time to grow, the tree never appears. The potential was always there, but the process was interrupted. The same principle applies to your life. Your vision is a seed. Your purpose is a seed. Your talent is a seed. And seeds require time beneath the surface before they break through the ground. During that period, nothing appears to be happening. There is no visible progress. There is no applause. There is no recognition. But beneath the surface, something powerful is developing. Roots are forming. Strength is building. Structure is being established. The moment a person quits during that hidden stage, they destroy something that was quietly preparing to emerge. This is why the cost of quitting is so high. When people look at success, they usually see the visible part, the achievement, the recognition, the result. But what they do not see are the years of invisible persistence that made that success possible. They do not see the early mornings when the work felt lonely. They do not see the late nights when doubt tried to take control. They do not see the repeated failures that forced adjustments and growth. They do not see the moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing. Success often looks sudden from the outside, but from the inside, it is built slowly through consistent refusal to quit. The greatest breakthroughs often arrive after long periods where nothing seems to be changing. Progress can be invisible before it becomes undeniable. But the problem is that many people measure progress too quickly. They expect immediate results from long, short-term dreams. When those results do not appear quickly enough, frustration grows. Frustration becomes discouragement. Discouragement becomes doubt. And doubt begins to convince the mind that quitting is reasonable. But quitting does not eliminate effort. Quitting simply redirects effort towards something smaller. A person who quits a meaningful dream often settles for comfort instead of purpose. They choose predictability instead of growth. They choose safety instead of possibility. On the surface, that decision may seem peaceful, but deep inside, something remains unsettled. Because purpose has a voice, and that voice does not disappear simply because a person walks away from it. Purpose whispers reminders. It reminds you of the ideas you once believed in. It reminds you of the vision that once excited your heart. It reminds you of the potential you once felt growing inside you. That quiet reminder can appear years later when life becomes routine and predictable. And suddenly the question appears again, what if I had continued? Imagine two individuals standing at the same difficult moment. Both are tired. Both are frustrated. Both are facing obstacles that seem overwhelming. One decides to quit. The pressure disappears immediately. The struggle stops. Life becomes easier in the short term. The other person decides to continue. They push through the exhaustion. They endure the discomfort. They keep working despite the uncertainty. At first, it may appear that the one who quit made the better decision. They are resting while the other person continues struggling. But time has a way of revealing the truth. Months later, the one who continued begins to develop skills, strength, confidence, and experience that the one who quit never acquired. Years later, the one who continued begins to see results that once seemed impossible. The gap between them grows wider. Not because one person was more talented, not because one person had better opportunities, but because one person decided that quitting was not acceptable. The cost of quitting is often invisible at first. It appears slowly through missed growth, missed experience, and missed transformation. Because the greatest reward of persistence is not just the achievement at the end. The greatest reward is the person you become in the process. When you continue despite difficulty, you develop resilience. When you continue despite doubt, you develop confidence. When you continue despite failure, you develop wisdom. When you continue despite fear, you develop courage. These qualities cannot be purchased. They cannot be inherited. They cannot be transferred from one person to another. They are built through the experience of continuing when quitting seems easier. And once those qualities are developed, they begin to influence every area of your life. Resilience strengthens your leadership. Discipline strengthens your character. Confidence strengthens your decisions. Courage strengthens your vision. But quitting interrupts that development. Quitting freezes growth. Quitting prevents the lessons that adversity was meant to teach. Quitting protects comfort at the expense of potential. And comfort is seductive. Comfort convinces people that stability is the same as fulfillment. But stability without purpose eventually becomes emptiness. Human beings were not designed merely to exist. They were designed to create, to build, to grow, to contribute, to explore the full capacity of their abilities. When those abilities remain unused, something inside begins to feel incomplete. That feeling is the reminder of unrealized potential. Think about the inventions that would never have existed if someone had quit too early. Think about the discoveries that required hundreds of attempts before success appeared. Think about the movements, the organizations, the breakthroughs that began as fragile ideas inside the mind of someone who simply refused to give up. History is filled with people who had every reason to quit. They faced rejection. They faced ridicule. They faced failure after failure. But they understood something powerful. Continuing was expensive, but quitting would cost far more. Because quitting would mean surrendering the possibility that their vision could become reality. And possibility is one of the most valuable forces in human life. Possibility expands the future. Possibility invites innovation. Possibility transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. But possibility only survives where persistence exists. Once persistence disappears, possibility begins to fade. That is why the decision not to quit is so powerful. It protects the future from being abandoned too early. It protects the dream from being buried by temporary frustration. It protects the potential that is still developing beneath the surface. The pain of effort may feel intense in the moment. Your body may feel tired. Your mind may feel overwhelmed. Your progress may seem slow. But effort is a sign that something is being built. Effort means you are still moving. Effort means the dream is still alive. Effort means the story is still unfolding. And every step you take while continuing moves you farther away from regret. Because regret is the shadow that follows abandoned dreams. Regret does not shout. It whispers. It appears in conversations where someone else achieves the thing you once pursued. It appears when you see someone younger doing what you once imagined doing. It appears when you realize that time continued moving forward, even though your dreams stopped. Regret is the quiet realization that you once had a chance to pursue something meaningful, but the journey ended before the destination could appear, and that realization can remain with a person for years. This is why continuing, even when difficult, protects something valuable inside you. It protects your belief in your own ability to grow. It protects your willingness to pursue meaningful goals. It protects your identity as someone who refuses to abandon possibility. And that identity shapes every future decision. When you build the habit of persistence, your mind begins to approach challenges differently. Instead of asking, "Should I quit?" you begin asking, "What must I adjust?" Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of retreating from difficulty, you begin to analyze it, understand it, and overcome it. That mindset transforms obstacles into teachers. Failure becomes information. Setbacks become strategy adjustments. And progress continues, sometimes slowly, but steadily. Because persistence is not always dramatic. Sometimes persistence is quiet. Sometimes it is simply showing up again tomorrow. Sometimes it is trying one more idea after many attempts have failed. Sometimes it is continuing to believe in something even when evidence is limited. But those quiet acts of persistence accumulate over time. They compound, they strengthen, they build momentum that eventually produces visible results. And when those results finally appear, they often look effortless to observers. People will say it happened suddenly. They will say it was luck. They will say it was timing. But the truth will always be deeper. The truth will be that someone endured long enough to allow the process to complete its work. The truth will be that someone understood that quitting would cost more than continuing.